When you place an insert on a track in Pro Tools, 100% of the audio on that track goes through that insert. And in fact, if there are multiple inserts, it goes through each of them in sequence. And then the final output of all of those inserts is output on the output channel, either to one of my physical outputs or to a bus. But sometimes I don't want 100% of the audio to go through an insert. Sometimes I want to send a portion of my audio through an insert. And a perfect case is a reverb, where I want to take a portion of my signal and send it to a reverb, which adds space to a sound. I want to mix the dry signal, which is the signal without any reverb processing, with the pure reverb sound and blend it together. And the way I do that is with a send. Let me show you how we set that up. I'm going to scroll over here and I'm going to add next to my vocal a reverb. I will pull up my new track window. I'll make a stereo aux. I'm hitting Command right arrow to change to stereo, Command down arrow to change from audio to aux. I'll create it. I will rename it Reverb. Now I'm going to add one of my nice Pro Tools reverbs to it. And we're going to choose one of the presets, a large room. Now, very important, when I have an insert on an aux track, I want to typically set the mix to 100%, which means none of the dry signal gets through, only the reverb signal is output. Since I'm mixing the dry signal from my vocal track with the reverb signal, I want to make sure that this is only the reverb. Okay, the reverb has to get its input from somewhere, so we're going to use a bus. And I'm going to choose a bus, how about 1516, and we'll rename that Large Reverb. Okay, and it's going to output to my main optical 1-2. Now let's show the sends on our tracks. And we do that down here. Remember, there are 10 sends. I'm going to choose the first 5. Here's sends A through E. Okay. Now, on the vocal track, I'm going to send the vocal to my large reverb. Immediately a fader pops up, and this will control the amount of the dry signal that gets sent to that reverb channel. Let me solo my vocal, solo my reverb, and let's listen what happens.
I believe in new beginnings.
So you can see as I raise the send, I'm mixing the dry signal
I believe in new beginnings.
with the wet signal. Okay, and you can see with the send, when I have that right area of the channel expanded by clicking my green button here, you can see the total large reverb signal, which means that I can be sending lots of tracks to the same reverb with their own sends and controlling the amount of reverb on each one of my tracks independently. Let's set up another track and send it to reverb. How about the trumpet? Now I'm just going to Option, drag, and voila, I have the insert there. And instead of bringing up my output channel, which I can do just by clicking on it, I can Command click the send. And instead of displaying each one of my sends separately here, it will show only one send with the fader for that send. Watch what happens. I'll solo that.
I believe in new beginnings. And you make my life worth living.
So what I'm doing here is I'm sending the trumpet signal to my reverb, a portion of it, and a portion of my vocal to the reverb, the same reverb, and I'm mixing that with the dry trumpet and the dry lead vocal. Of course, I can have multiple reverbs, I can have multiple tracks sending to those reverbs, and so forth. Now, a couple other things. I can bypass a send, just like I can bypass my inserts, by Command clicking on it, or right-clicking and choosing Mute. And now I will not be sending to that send. I can also click the Mute button here, which does the same thing. So let's just go back to our vocal track. That's the dry track. Now I'll turn on my reverb. And then finally, there's this P button here. P stands for pre-send, and P determines whether the reverb signal is affected by the setting of my fader. For example, if I turn on P, I can lower my volume of the dry track all the way down, and I only will hear the reverb. The P says, don't affect the amount you're setting to the reverb by the way the fader's set. That's a great way of separating out the dry from the wet signal and treating them completely independently. Here's my dry signal.
I believe in new beginnings.
And here's my wet signal.
And you.
And then I can mix them.